Welcome back to the channels, ladies and gentlemen. It's not quite Christmas yet, but I've got a massive shipment of international opals, a lot of opals that I don't have, and I'll have individual videos on each of them later on. But we're talking Leopard Opal, Candy Opal, Opalized Megalodon tooth fragment, I think. We got some Spencer Opal, Honduran Opal, and it's all in these bags just here. So maybe I will just quickly off camera, slice them all up, and then we'll have a look at each of them. Well, that took a lot longer than I thought, but I've got it done. So let's have a quick look here. It looks like there are multiple piles of Leopard Opal. I've just unboxed them, unpackaged them, and kept them in their same position. And the Leopard Opal, I think, is probably my favorite out of this bunch, which is good because I got a lot of it. And I will probably carve a lot of these into pretty creative shapes because they're quite chunky. So I've got a lot to work with, and they've got a lot of colour. This is completely dry. I can chuck a little bit of water on it, I suppose, and have a look like this. It actually doesn't get that much better with the water. A nice little matrixy like opal. I'll do more detailed videos on each of these after I research them a bit more as well. But I can recognise that one as being Leopard Opal pretty easily. I'm not too sure about this Megalodon tooth fragment, mainly because I'm not very familiar with them. It's an interesting piece. I don't know if it is actually opalized or not, but it is meant to be an opalized tooth fragment. So I will have to test that one in the lab most likely, which I can do, and the result should be interesting either way. There are some really nice pieces of opalized wood. So you can clearly see a lot of the grain definition, a lot of cool specimens, and I've got some ideas around treating and carving this stuff. So I want to give that a crack, and luckily enough for me, there's quite a few small chunks, but also some really big chunks as well, so I can get pretty creative with it. Now, one that I've been hunting for a while, some Honduran Opal. So you can see here, once again, very matrixy, some big chunks. I don't have a lot of it, but it's a lot better than what I had, because I had none of it until now, and I'm so glad that Dan's managed to send a whole bunch over. He's got a lot of random stuff, and he trades in a lot of material, and he did try his hardest to get it to me as quickly as possible. It was meant to be express postage. We were both surprised that it took quite as long as it did. This was meant to get here way before Christmas, and this video is only going to get out just before Christmas. So yeah, I've been really hunting for some Honduran Opal. It's not overly common over here in Australia, and it's pretty hard to get and pretty pricey as well, so I'm glad I found Dan. Actually, he messaged me on Facebook, so very good to be contacted by someone that has a lot of different material, because I also got this massive chunk of Candy Opal. Not overly precious, it's got no real precious qualities, it's more of a common opal, which makes it pretty cheap, but even this is quite expensive if you get it from a local dealer. So I'm glad to have got this massive, absolutely massive chunk. This one I think I will trim saw and slab up and polish a whole heap of big pieces, big pendant stones out of this one. Hopefully it holds together quite well. I haven't worked with the stuff, none of this stuff I've worked with in the past. And then something that looks a lot like Cuba Pedy but isn't, Spencer Opal. I've also been hunting Spencer Opal for quite a long time. Had a few suppliers that ended up falling short, and we didn't end up making a deal, but this stuff is quite cool, very Cuba Pedy like if I get a couple of these pieces. It seems to be pretty prone to crazing, but it is a very nice white, and it's more precious opal than I thought. There's really good colour in some of these pieces, particularly this one here. Some really nice blues, greens, nice bit of crystal in there. So yeah, hopefully I can do something with these as well. Even with the crumbling, it should... I know it's a lot less stable than the Cuba Pedy that I'm used to working, but it just looks deceptively similar. So hopefully I can carve something out of that, give it a nice polish, and away we go. And then last is one that I'm not actually familiar at all with. I believe Dan was calling it Swamp Opal. I think from a brief look around I did online at the time, it's from Louisiana, but I'm not entirely sure because I've seen some green opal looking stuff come from Oregon as well. And it is a very a bit of an apple green. Looks like it's also very prone to crazing. You can see how big this is. Same as the Candy Opal. Huge chunks, and I don't know if this one I'll be able to slab up. It looks a lot more crumbly and a lot more fragile than what the Candy Opal is. This stuff's rock solid. But this looks like it's got a lot of flaws all through it, so maybe this one will be a bit more of a apple crumble. But even if it does break up into little pieces, I reckon I can do something interesting with them. I've already got some ideas brewing. Massive pieces, and that's it. So yeah, Honduran, Spencer Opal, Leopard Opal, Opalized wood, this tooth fragment, which actually I could easily just turn that straight into a pendant. Just drill a hole straight through here. That might be all I do with that one. Though I reckon I will test it in the lab and work out what it actually is. Make sure it is some sort of opalized material. But yeah, you'll see a lot of this stuff on the channel, especially the Leopard Opal. I really like the look of this stuff. If I zoom in here, it reminds me a lot of Fairy Opal. A lot like Winton Fairy Opal after treatment, but this hasn't even been treated. This is just how it is. It does have this nice black matrix tone already without treatment. I wonder if I can treat it further. Probably could. Because it's a little bit ashy. It's a bit of a ashy black. But when I slab it and polish it, it might turn out quite well without any treatment. So I'll do some experimenting. I've got heaps of chunks of it. Heaps of chunks, and some with more colour than others. So definitely worth playing with. And this will be a lot of the videos for next year, I'm sure. I'm always interested in opal material that I haven't played with in the past. And there's so many varieties of opal out there. These are just a lot of North American style ones. But there are so many others out there that I haven't played with yet, and that is poor form. If I'm going to run an opal channel, I've got to get more than just the Aussie and Ethiopian opals on the show. So yeah, stay tuned, and I will bring more of this stuff, and I'm still hunting for a few really, really hard to get a hold of opal from all over the world. So hopefully one day I'll have them all. Kind of like Pokemon. But until then, we'll work on these and work on a lot of the other stuff that I've already got. So I'll see you in the next one.